Guys, welcome to Better Bachelor. This is Joker, and I did not know what the word locus means. We're going to be talking about locus tonight, and I did not know what that word meant when I first found this article. Locus is another word for a place, a source, and we're going to talk about where's the source of control in your life coming from, and when it's not in your control. For example, in the woman that you might date or women that you have dated in the past, when their source of, quote, power or magic or whatever is, and I don't mean literal magic, but what I mean is like when they say, oh, the magic's leaving this relationship, or I'm not getting the tingles and the feels anymore, it's because you, the external source of control, is not providing it to her. She doesn't have her own source of happiness. I know this sounds a little confusing. Once we get reading, I think you'll understand this a little bit more. But what I wanted to talk to you guys about first is, what does it mean having an internal source of control in your life and happiness in your life, or having an external source of control and happiness? And I just shaved. My head is all dry, so I'm itchy, so forgive me for rubbing my face here. But what that means basically is, when we talk about stoicism, when we talk about being happy in your own skin, when we talk about I'm okay with myself, you're in control of your life. You're in control of your own happiness. And then when it's external, when you rely on others to provide that kind of source of control or source of happiness for your life, that's when you're not in a happy place. And that's where you say, but I want a girlfriend so bad. It's because it's external. That's your source of happiness would be her. Or I need a really good job, man. I want to have lots of money, and which is a good thing. I'm not poo-pooing it, but I am saying that you can't always control that. So what if you do have that great job and all of a sudden you lose that job? Do you lose who you are as a person? Do you lose your happiness? Or do you say, hey, you know what? I'm a smart guy. I'm good. I'll recover. I'll find something better. Let me just get back to it. And that has a lot to do with, some people will say, like, it's in your inner fire, your inner drive for leading your life forward. So I'm going to give you a real life example about what's even recently, not only a long time ago, but what's recently happened to me, and to show you that even, at 40-something years old, as a 47-year-old guy, that even now, you're going to always have people that are going to try to take that control away from you. They're going to try to drag you into their world or drag you down. And what it does is it makes you feel like you don't belong, that you're not good at just being by yourself. So here's my example. Very quickly, the first one is when I was in high school, I was in marching band. I also was on the chess club. I also did 6 sports. I had 6 varsity and JV letters, which for you overseas means that I participated in a sport. I got a leather jacket. I put the high school emblem on it, and you get a pin for every sport that you participated in. Well, so I was in a nerdy chess club, and I was in marching band, which is music and kind of smart person stuff. Smart person stuff. It's kind of looked at as nerdy as well. But then I was also in a lot of sports. Well, I didn't fit into any category, and so people really had a hard time kind of deciding how they should treat me. Should they treat me as a nerd? It's not about just treating me as me. And I think often, because I was happy doing all of it, and I think oftentimes because of stress or because of not belonging or not having your own source of power, and when I say that, I mean your own control over your own life, your own feeling that life is in your own hands. I'm trying to use words from this article because that way when I read it, it'll kind of make sense. Then a lot of times people try to fit in, and that's where you change who you are because of an outside source of happiness, or what you think is going to be the outside source of happiness. Hope that makes sense. So then, now as an adult, I'm still kind of the same guy. I do my own thing. I had some rocky roads where I did try to fit in because I didn't like feeling on the outside of what was popular or what my friends were doing, or I felt like the lone guy. I know a lot of you, especially younger guys, can feel like, oh man, they're all over there having fun and laughing it up and having a good time, and I'm over here by myself. But as long as you're over by yourself, being your authentic self and true to yourself, and your source of happiness comes from within, you can sit back and watch them all interacting with each other and having fun, and you can analyze it, and you can kind of see the dynamics between the people, and then you go about your day. There's no sense of, oh, I'm missing out. I'm not part of that group. I don't have people laughing and looking at me and patting me on the back and telling me I'm smart or funny, because that happiness is coming from from outside of you. Okay, so as an adult here recently, there's been a couple other channels that have taken some of my older videos, and they've critiqued me, my thoughts, which is always a good thing. They've critiqued my results, or what I think is my takeaway from it. Also always a good thing. I like making people think about things in the world. And then they also personally attacked me on my voice. I've been attacked on my height. I've been attacked on my weight. I've been attacked on lots of different things. My background here, because I just do it in a store or in an office space until my bus is done. And you know what? Hey, if my feelings or my source of happiness came from outside, well, that would hurt my feelings. But when you're in a good place, it doesn't bother you, okay? Same thing goes so here's what's happened. So basically, a lot of the commentators that made comments about me personally, they said I was a guy going my own way, MGTOW. They said I belong to that group. And these were mostly pickup guys that were talking about, like, oh, if you're not dating, if you're not out there scoring all the time, you're a loser. And so they said, well, he's a guy going his own way. And then the funny thing is that the guys in the going their own way forum or webpage or whatever, they don't like me because they say, well, he's a simp because he asks users to, if they comment, and if a woman posts something, to comment on their thoughts and ideas, not the fact that they're a woman. Because a woman can have thoughts and ideas that are good. We don't want to punish women that have good ideas or are like, I hear you. I agree with you. I'm sorry you guys go through this. That to me is not an enemy. That is an ally, okay? Some of you may disagree, but that's fine. So the guys going their own way, they call me a simp. And then simps say, well, he's not one of us because he makes fun of all of us for giving money to OnlyFans. And so guess what? There's no community that I belong in. As a matter of fact, if you look at the tags on my videos, there's nothing about any three of those subjects. It's men's health, men's fitness, divorce, marriage, dating, that kind of stuff. It's all kind of just men's generic stuff because I don't want to fit in any group, because that means I'd have to change something about me. And I want you young guys to understand that this is like a superpower. You know, guys that are out there dating and they say, oh man, I said the right thing and I leaned against the bar and I played it cool, and before you know it, she's in bed with me. It feels like a superpower. I get that. But what happens if maybe she calls you ugly or unattractive or a loser or whatever? Do you feel let down a little bit? Maybe. No, maybe not. But as long as you're happy within, nothing will bother you. Nothing will bother you. Or things will concern you, but you'll get over them very quickly. You kind of bounce back to your normal place. Okay? So keep that in mind, that once you, and this is going to talk about this a little bit, once you find that your source of happiness and control in your life is internal, you can work through any problem that comes up against you. When it's external, that's when you're going to find that you feel left out, you feel lonely, you feel that nobody likes you, you feel that you don't have enough friends, you feel that you don't belong. Because when you belong, you get other people saying, I like you, or I like to spend time with you, or I like to hang around with you. That's outside validation. That's external things making you feel good. Once you have, once you're not worried about that anymore, guess what? You don't care. You're happy by yourself all the time. And if somebody says they don't like you, you go, oh, okay, whatever. You don't have to hang out with me. Okay, so let's talk about this and how it relates to relationships. So this is from Psychology Today. A lot of their articles are hit and miss, but I think he has a point here. I know some of you guys have made fun of women on the forums that talk about their astrology symbol and Mercury rising and are you a Libra and what this means, and it means nothing. But those are external things that makes them feel like they have control over something. Or what about women that, I did a story on this, on a woman that ended herself because she was on social media and she felt she didn't get enough likes on a few photos and people weren't being complimentary enough, and she took herself out. It's because that validation wasn't coming in. And so we're going to read this article explains how and what makes somebody have the kind of the external validation, and why I'm going to explain why so many women have this problem now that makes them leave once the excitement, once any problems, once any issues come up, because they think it's all random happenstance. It's not due to their actions or your actions. So David Bredehoft, PhD, he says, do you believe in relationship magic? Does fate, luck, or magic affect your relationship, or is it your own actions? Of course, we know it's our own actions, but what about people that aren't in a healthy place? They say, simply put, internal locus, and that's the word I was talking about, or of control is good. And I'm going to replace that word because I know, like I said, 50% of you don't speak English, and I want to try, or let me correct that. 50% of you, English is not your primary language, so I just want to make it a little easier for you. I don't mean it to be insulting. I had to look up the meaning of it myself. So they say, simply put, internal place, source. I'm going to use source. Simply put, internal source of control is good, whereas an external source of control is bad, according to Julian B. Rotter, who developed the construct in the 1950s. Individuals with a strong internal source of control believe that they are in control of their lives. They believe that their own actions and decisions influence the outcome and direction of their lives. Their fortune, good or bad, is due to what they did or did not do. One's own ability, effort, and actions determine what happens, whereas persons with a strong external source of control believe that what happens to them is due to outside factors. What happens is largely out of their control. The good that happens to them is due to fate, luck, chance, magic, society, social media. It's always someone else's fault, basically. And they blame others for their misfortune. I bring this up as a topic because, number one, it has a lot to do with dating, but it also has a lot to do with our society right now, right? I'm being held down, say women, say some segments of our society. I'm being held down. I can't get ahead. I'm failing. And when the question's asked, why? Why are you failing? Why are you struggling? Patriarchy. Men are holding me back. Not really. You can get a degree in anything. More scholarships for women right now. As a matter of fact, in a lot of places, it's easier for a woman to get hired than it is a guy. So what's your next excuse? See, the problem is that when there's no one to blame for the problems that they have anymore, they fall to pieces. They don't know how to handle that. Because all of a sudden, there's no one to point a finger at except themselves. And that's really difficult for somebody that's never had to work through this kind of thing. It happens a lot more in younger people, and it happens in people that are spoiled. You know, just recently, some of the rioters that were caught in Portland, 8 of them, I think it was 8 or 9 of them were brought up on charges, and all 8 of them came from a household that was very well-to-do. More than $100,000 a year schools is where they were going to, and their families had very big and very expensive homes. So why would these young people be out rioting and protesting? There may be a bunch of different reasons. But the interesting thing is that they're also the first ones to blame everyone else for society's woes. There was no, oh man, I screwed up because I came rioting. I screwed up because I made a bad choice in my life. It's not my fault. Cops are this, cops are that, cops are this. The same thing happens in dating. Okay? So when she is having a hard time in a relationship and she says, you know what? I'm not happy with where this relationship is going. Why? You work too much. You always leave me alone. So you see that she's pointing the finger outside to the guy. Or, you don't bring in enough money. Okay, but when I was working more, you weren't happy because I wasn't around as much, so you wanted me home more. Well, now I'm home more, so we're not going to have as much money. Like, we can't have both. Well, yeah, but you. It's always external. And the other thing is, if you ask them, hey, what is it you like about me? Now, if I'm with a woman and she says, what do you like about me? I might say your bobs and your butt and your legs. But I'll also say, if she's going to be with me, I like your sense of humor. I like the fact that you are intelligent. I like the fact that so on and so forth. But a lot of times when you ask them, or when you ask them, what do you like about me? They'll say, well, I like that you make me feel good. I like that you make me happy. I like that you cuddle with me. I like that it's always reflected back upon themselves. It's interesting. And when you ask people these questions and you get a little more practiced in interacting and talking with people, it's not something you have to think about a lot, but these are things you pick up very quickly. And that's how it's a little easier to read people so that you don't get kind of entangled with somebody that's a negative focus on your life. Okay, so they continue on. Loss of control, or not loss, sorry, center of control or source of control and couple satisfaction. Numerous studies suggest that a source of control plays a significant role in both couple satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Doherty in 1981 found that one form of dissimilarity, the more external wife and more internal husband were associated with marital dissatisfaction. Okay, so they're talking about source here. So that the more external sourced a woman is, in other words, the more that her happiness comes from outside of herself, and the more the husband's satisfaction or happiness comes from within himself, this was associated with marital dissatisfaction. This would have explained my last marriage and many of my last relationships. I was happy all the time, just doing my thing. Going to the gym, I'm good. Going to just chill around the house, I'm fine. I'm going to go tinker on this, ride the motorcycle, whatever I was doing. I was happy because I enjoy myself. My source of happiness came from within. Except all these relationships that I had, their satisfaction was from without. So I would get, I'm bored. Let's go do something. Hey, you never spend time with me. Come watch this movie with me. And I might say, I don't want to watch that movie. I've never seen the Titanic. I don't want to watch it. It's like the last 5 minutes I get to watch a ship go down. I know what happens. It's just, it's kind of spoiled for me. I know what happens in the movie The Titanic. But it was supposed to be this great love story. I don't care. It's not my movie. I think almost every time I've been in a relationship, after a while, now it's The Notebook or some other movie. Let's watch The Notebook. What's it about? They tell me, and I go, no, I'm good. Well, come watch it with me. You watch it. Watch it by yourself. Enjoy it. Just you enjoy it. I don't care. While you do that, I'll do something else, and then afterwards we'll hang out. Well, it's because they need to have someone else there. They need to have that external source of... Do you see where I'm going with this? Because if you look at it, a lot of you guys that say, man, I did everything for her and it was never enough, it's because you were her source of happiness, and at some point she got bored of that, or she didn't appreciate it anymore, or another source of happiness came up and was more exciting. And as the guy, you're going to be especially miserable because you don't need her to make you happy. So they continue on. Myers and Booth in 1999 found out that the higher a couple's marital source of control score was, the more positive marital quality they had, as well as lower negative marital quality. That's kind of an oddly structured sentence. The higher a couple's marital source of control score was, the more positive marital quality they had, as well as lower negative marital quality. Okay, so I guess what they're saying is the more that they were both internally happy, their source of control and happiness was internal for both people, the happier they were together as a couple. And the less likely they were, and I guess the reverse is true. It probably means the same. They said, in addition, they found that spouses with lower levels of marital source of control were more likely to report the presence of marital strains linked to lower levels of marital quality. Lee and McKinnish in 2019 researched couples over time and found the internal source of control is linked to marital satisfaction. They also found that one's own source of control matters more for marital satisfaction than one's spouse's source of control. Couples in which the husband is more externally oriented experience declines in marital satisfaction over time compared to more internally oriented husbands. Is there a relationship between source of control and couple satisfaction? So let's talk about how this relates to young people today, okay? How many young men are, I'm good, right? It's a very strong alpha position, which is, I'm good. You want to argue with me? I'm not going to argue with you. I'll leave the room. And then you leave the room. And you don't apologize. And you don't go back and say, I'm sorry, okay, let's not fight. No. If she's pulling the fool and trying to throw shade at you, you just say, I'm not dealing with this. You're acting like a child. And then be done with it. And if she doesn't like that, she can leave. But that is a very, very strong place of control. Women may argue with it. Women may say, I don't agree with that. But you want a husband that's like, I'm so sorry, honey. Please, I just love you. No woman wants that. It's weak. It's pedantic. It's awful. But they do want someone that's strong. And the same thing is, it gives them a pillar of strength to kind of build their life around. And what they're saying here is that men that do not have that strong, internal-oriented strength, the marriage suffers because of it. So as I've said to many of you men out there, especially ones that are really focused on dating and really focused on marriage and maybe a family someday, you must be strong, capable, and powerful, and good, and healthy on your own first. Period. End of sentence. There is no romantic lovey-dovey like in the movies, and you sweep her off her feet. I'll love you forever, and you ride off into the sunset. Men don't get love like that. Men get loved for their strength, for their ability to provide. And now she can look at you and find you attractive and can find you sexy. So you can have that as well. But she's never going to care for you like what I call mommy love, which is unconditional, just you and me, honey, whatever, we got this. No, that's the man's job. The man's job is to say, we got this. You're never going to find a love like that. And if you do, it's fake. It's not real. And she will leave you for thinking that you're weak. You have to be the rock in the relationship if there's any chance it's going to last. And again, this has been going on since the 1950s. Now, I didn't dive way into it, and I invite you guys to look into it a little bit further. But, I'm just kind of laying out the groundwork to think about it. I'll read a little bit more. They talk about the source of control and overindulgence, and external, internal, and childhood overindulgence as well. And they find that having a external source of control, meaning that you are only happy if the outside treats you well and you're only good if everything around you is good, they say it is positively correlated with childhood overindulgence, spoiled kids. How many of these kids today, and that's why I brought up the rioting thing, you've got kids rioting and burning and throwing things through windshields and damaging cop cars, but they came from a great home. They don't have any social strife. Why would you go to a poor community and destroy everything, or in some cases a rich community and destroy everything, when you've already got life good? You're not supporting or helping anyone that way, in my opinion. But why are they doing it? Because they had overindulgence. Their source of entertainment and excitement and thrill is external. And it's the same thing with women. Look how spoiled women are right now. Six women that are sixes are sleeping with guys that are 8s, 9s, and 10s. They're not going to get a relationship out of it, but they're sleeping with them. They're spoiled. They think that this is the guy they're going to marry. They're not. But because of this, all the external sources of happiness. It's positively correlated with over-nurture, the type of childhood overindulgence in which over-parenting occurs. Guess what? The trophy generation, like the participation trophy generation, here it is. The snowplow generation, here it is. And why do we call them snowflakes? Because they can't handle anything. They melt and break down. Well, actually, the truth is, snowflakes are supposed to be unique and special. Each snowflake, there's not one snowflake like another snowflake. That's where that comes from. I call them the snowflake generation because the first sign of adversity, they melt. They have complete meltdowns. But But also the helicopter parenting, the snowplow parenting. Oh, honey, we'll take care of everything for you. Don't worry. You screwed up in school. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm going to yell at your teacher. This is where we are. And it's breaking down to where all validation and all happiness must come from outside yourself. And it's not a way to be happy. They say it is positively correlated with soft structure, the type of childhood overindulgence in which parents do not have rules, enforce the rules, or make children do chores. Again, look how many right now, again, and I use the here in the United States, the protests and the riots, because it's this times 100. Where kids are out there saying defund the police and smashing stuff and throwing Molotov cocktails and burning stuff down, and then somebody gets hurt and they go, call 911. Wait, what? You want to call the people that you're trying to get rid of? You're not making any sense. See, they haven't thought this through. They're just caught up in the moment of the excitement and everything else that's going on. And they say it is not correlated with a type of childhood overindulgence called too much, when parents give children too much of everything. So interesting. They say it's not correlated with that. And they say marital and internal source of control. It is not correlated with childhood overindulgence. And, this is internal. Okay, I was confused there for a second. Marital internal source of control is not correlated with childhood overindulgence, is not correlated with any type of childhood overindulgence, overnurture, too much, or soft structure. And they have links for each one of these. So if you want to read, I'm going to have to trim my mustache. I'm telling you. They're basically saying that if you don't spoil a kid, the kid's not going to act spoiled, and he's going to be happier from his own internal self-well-being. But if you spoil them, if you look out for them, if you over-nurture them, you're soft on them, you give them too many things, that now their source of happiness, they didn't have to develop as a person, and now their source of happiness comes from outside. So any of you guys that are struggling a little bit and saying, hey, why do I have such a hard time? Why do I feel like I'm lonely? Why do I feel like if I don't have anything coming in, I'm never going to necessarily blame this on that person. When somebody says, I need external validation versus internal validation, or I'm spoiled and I become a jerk. When kids are children, when babies are born, they know nothing. They only know what they're taught. And if they've been taught improperly and they've been taught wrong, they're going to know wrong. And they're not going to know how necessarily to fix these issues. This is something that you're going to have to, if you fall into one of these categories, you're going to have to, and I'm not going to say get tough, because there's no way you can just will yourself to get tough, but you're going to have to get tough enough at least to understand you need to talk to somebody about it. Maybe talk to some counseling, maybe talk to some friends, talk to some more mature people that have worked their way through something like this and come out the backside. There's a lot more article to this, a lot more. I'm going to leave the link down below, as I always do. I invite you guys that struggle with this a little bit, for yourself, number one, of why am I unhappy? Why do I need outside validation? Read this, follow some of the links, see if that helps you. And then for you guys that are wondering what's going on in relationships and why can't I be happy in relationships, and why does it seem like I'll date a woman for 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, 6 months, everything's going great, and then all of a sudden she wants to leave, or she cheated, or it's because she's not happy from within. She needs this external source of validation. It's a form of narcissism, but I think this may talk about it in a different way, where it's not the traditional triggers for narcissism that there have been in the past, but this is more how they're raised, and which is it's different. I'll do another topic on some of the triggers on narcissism and the dark triads of personality in another video. Guys, if you'd like to support my work, links are below as always. If you have, thank you very much. And the best way you can support me is always like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. Guys, I'll leave it there. This is Better Bachelor. I'm Joker. Remember, once you're in a good place, man, I'm telling you, you can be alone for exceptionally long periods of time, years, and you can be happy. You're not bothered. But if you're bothered by feeling lonely and you feel like you need to belong to something, this could be part of the cause of that. And I think if you look into the root of it and maybe get some help on that, that maybe it'll help you out in the long run, being and finding your own happiness as well.